We'll call the meeting to order. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach. All members are present. Town manager, town attorney. We'll stand for the invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance.
As we gather together this day, let us be ever thankful of the opportunity to serve. We ask that this meeting be guided with wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another as we work together to accomplish a goal common for the good of our community and its citizens. Let our hearts and heads be filled with hope for a brighter future. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the next item is the approval of the final agenda. Is there a motion to approve that?
Move.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? The objection? Agenda is approved. Now our next item is public comment. Amy, do you have any speakers?
Gail Mason.
Fortunately, I'm here again.
You can take your mask off while you're there. That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all for being here. I found out that I was going to be here at about 10 o'clock last night, and I'm mostly, at this point, trying to find out what the proper procedure is. This is regarding maybe the arches someplace. I don't know if it's an agenda item or should be a workshop item. Really what I would like to do is have the ability to sit down with people, county and town, and find out what's possible, what's not possible, what's probable, what's improbable. It seems like on my end, I feel like I'm chasing my tail where I get all these things and it's not appropriate. We need to get into knowing where we stand. You know, this isn't possible. Okay, well then let's throw that out and try to find out what is possible. And I mean, we've talked about Bayside Park, Town Hall, the library, Bay Oaks, Crescent Beach, Lynn Hall Park, Times Square, Summer County, Summertown. Kind of get a feel for what's actually possible so we can stop spinning our wheels. That'd be an agenda thing, a workshop thing. Who do we sit down and how?
We're really not supposed to get into an exchange right here, right now, but I'll tell you what, we'll look into, and I'll talk about it with the town manager and see if we can't work something out, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, one other thing, because I happen to be here. Has anything happened about work on the hazardous handicap parking stops under the bridge? I mean, I know I emailed you almost a month ago when I wiped out. Unfortunately, I have to admit to being in the over 60 category. At least 6 of my coworkers have tripped over those. The base employees have said they've tripped. Everybody you talk to has tripped over them. I mentioned reflective tape, reflectors, paint, something. It's dark under there. I don't know that they can do anything about lighting. I know the lighting under the bridges is state, but it's really hazardous. And I mean, it's almost a month later. I've spent $60 so far since then paying to park because I'm afraid to walk to my car in our parking lot. I still can't kneel down. Someday somebody's going to trip over one and get seriously hurt, and somebody's going to sue the town in this day and age. And I talked to Todd, who was going to talk to Kristen, and to the best of my knowledge, nothing's still been done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Woodson.
Morning, Council.
Morning.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk with you this morning, and a special thank you for those of you who reached out separately, either with comments, direction, insights. I really appreciate that. I'm obviously very interested in an appointment to the LPA. This is my second application process. My husband and I bought our home in FMB in 2016 with the full intent to move here when we retired in 2018. And that we did. We own a rental property. We have a very vested interest in the direction of Fort Myers Beach. There are details in my career history that may not be transparent through my resume. In my tenure in Select Comfort, now the Sleep Number Company, we experienced amazing growth, an IPO, and opened 2 additional manufacturing facilities, one in Utah and one in South Carolina. In both those expansions, I was part of the management team that negotiated with the states on tax rates, facility locations, employment and training opportunities, and workforce redevelopment. During my 10 years at United Health Group, we expanded our Medicaid business throughout 35 additional states, of which I was the talent acquisition liaison. Again, heavy involvement in state, county, and city negotiations, office locations based on market and candidate demographics, and workforce redevelopment. I'm a strategic thinker, a team player, and have always brought value and contribution to the bottom line in every position that I've been in. I hope I have the opportunity to show Fort Myers Beach that same success. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Barbara Hill.
Good morning, members of Town Council. Barbara Hill. I'm here this morning as a member of the Island Public Art, a newly formed group of residents who advocate for public art. The past 2 months, we've met via Zoom to discuss the town's initial draft of its mural ordinance, which began last year. To assist the town's work in progress, an email was sent to all of you, which included our informal survey showing existing murals on our island, as well as recommendations for the mural ordinance. I recommend that the town complete and adopt this mural ordinance, which encourages property owners and businesses to commission and install original, site-specific murals which celebrate our island's cultural history, wildlife, and native plantings. Adopting a vital mural program for Fort Myers Beach will serve to promote civic pride and foster a greater awareness and appreciation for our unique subtropical environment. Thank you very much for taking the time to review those recommendations. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Barb. Roger, can we add that to the list of things to discuss at a future meeting?
I believe it's scheduled to go to the LPA
Or is it already? Okay.
or MMP or both, so
MMP.
it's imminent.
Very good.
I have no further.
Does anyone else here this morning wish to speak before the council? Oh, okay, then we'll close the public comment. The next item is we have a proclamation this morning for Red Ribbon Week, and I'll read that, maybe. The Town of Fort Myers Beach proclamation, whereas Red Ribbon Week is the oldest drug prevention program in the nation, commemorating the tragic death of DEA agent Kiki Camarena, who was murdered by drug traffickers in Mexico City. And whereas hundreds of Lee County students participate in Red Ribbon Week events in their schools, led by their extraordinary teachers and principals, and whereas for every dollar spent on prevention, $7 are saved in treatment, according to the United States government surveys, and whereas the Lee County Coalition for a Drug-Free Southwest Florida has a dedicated board of directors and advisory council committed to its mission to reduce substance abuse in Lee County by raising awareness of prevention resources through collaboration, education, and inspiration, and whereas prevention is working in Lee County with alcohol use among teens dropping 15% in the past 10 years. And whereas families in Lee County show an extraordinary commitment to prevention and the health and wellness of their children, as demonstrated by their participation in prevention programs like Red Ribbon Week and Drug House Odyssey. And whereas this year's theme of Red Ribbon Week is Be Happy, Be Brave, Be Drug-Free. And whereas the Lee County Coalition for a Drug-Free Southwest Florida and the School District of Lee County will celebrate National Red Ribbon Week on October 27th at a ceremony honoring Lee County's drug-free kids. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach does hereby proclaim October 23rd through 31st, 2020 as Red Ribbon Week, given under my hand and the office of the mayor this 5th day of October 2020, Raymond P. Murphy, Mayor. Red Ribbon Week. Someone that wishes to speak?
I don't mind speaking.
Oh, come up, please.
Okay.
No, right there, and
Right here,
take your mask off and introduce yourself.
Mala, I work for the Drug Free Coalition, and I want to thank the Mayor and the City Council for this resolution and your commitment to prevention. I'd also like to mention, since Ms. Everly is here, the very, very first-hand prevention every day that's done by our heroes in the Lee County Sheriff's Department, really our school resource officers who every day are offering prevention to kids with boots on the ground. And believe me, if you've ever heard a bunch of fifth graders ask the same questions 28 times, you'll know these school resource officers are really heroes. So I want to acknowledge the Sheriff's Office. I want to acknowledge you. And I know we have a big hill to climb, but with your help and with the help of the people in Lee County, we'll be able to.
We want to acknowledge you and thank you. Thank you for all the good work that you do in conjunction with the school district and
Can I
the.
come up and get the proclamation?
Oh,
How does that
by all
work?
means. By all means.
I always love coming here. You have such.
Don't have to flatter us now. Okay.
Doesn't say the past.
Okay. Stopping by. Of course. And thank you again for all the good work. Okay. Next item is recognitions. Start with Veach down on that end, and we'll work our way down.
Okay, I have one thing. It came to my attention that there's a small endangered butterfly called the Atterholt butterfly, which was only known to exist in the U.S. and a small part of the east coast of Florida. Its downfall was largely because of the native kunti plant was disappearing. But I've been told lately that these butterflies are appearing around the Mound House. And so they're a little black butterfly. They're very distinct because they don't flit around nearly as fast as other butterflies, and they have very distinct markings. But this is largely because of the native plants that have been put at the Mound House. So I would just like to acknowledge the staff and previous councils for engaging in the native planting and setting a good example and bringing back a cool butterfly.
Very good.
Nothing this morning. Thank you,
Nothing
Mr.
this
Mayor.
morning. Vice Mayor.
I'd like to recognize the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation. They are moving forward with a program they've been doing ever since the pandemic started, where they're helping to provide gift cards for groceries for those hospitality workers on the island that have been financially impacted. They have a card give out coming up soon. If you know anyone who has a business on the beach who has employees that have had their hours shortened or laid off, please spread the word, because no matter how much good works the Community Foundation does, if the word doesn't get out to the people who need the cards to get them to show up, it doesn't do any good. So please spread the word to anybody that you think might be a good person to even further spread the word. And I thank the Community Foundation for all their work on this project. It's a super project.
Just thank Amy Baker for all of her hard work and the start of her new position.
Very good. I'd just like to give a little shout out this morning to all the guys out on Estero Boulevard doing the road work out there. they're not necessarily our employees, but indirectly they're working for the good of the beach here. And they're doing a great job in all kinds of, there's been, there've been epic floods out there in the past couple of weeks, and they just keep going and going and going, and there's a lot getting done, and we appreciate it. So to those guys that are out there in the ditches, we say thank you very much. Okay, the next item is advisory committees. We have Catherine Light here from the Anchorage Advisory Committee. Catherine?
I guess I'm just here to answer questions or clarify the report, or if you have any comments on any we're working.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Catherine? Was there something that was we discussed here this morning in particular?
Well, I for one wanted to thank Catherine for providing a written report in advance so the council knows the sentiment of the committee. The committee's been working very hard on two issues. One is with respect to the upland facilities, the future of the upland facility provider, and whether the town should take a hard look at proceeding providing that service in-house versus continue to contract it. And you have sentiments of the committee with respect to that in their report. The other issue they've been working very hard on is if there is to be a new location for the upland facilities, what would be the preferred location of that, and they address that as well in their report. And the vice mayor, of course, is the liaison to the committee and well aware of all their efforts.
Very good. Any questions? Yes, Jim.
A brief question. What's the, first of all, thank you for being here this morning, Catherine. What's the role of the Anchorage Advisory Committee with respect to the renewal of the lease, the contract with Matanzas? And if there is a role, are we, I think I saw, Roger, that we're trying to consolidate this contract and obviously renew it until we have a better sense of where we're headed with these facilities. I guess my question is, there's been some concerns raised by the town at times about various issues that have occurred with this contract. And are we building in performance metrics into the contract to prevent some of the problems that have been raised? Because you can contractually address those issues if the contract's done appropriately. And I was just curious as to your role in that, and have you all been involved in that process of the renewal of that contract?
In the beginning, we were not involved, but 3 years ago, we had a member of our committee that was on the committee to select the person, as well as this year as well. But we have not had a role in the actual metrics of the contract. There have been some comments about that they've had issues with our current provider. We haven't really had a metric or specific, we have not seen specific things that need to be addressed. And I don't, one of the things that we addressed or we talked about in our strategic plan is we should have better communication between the town and the provider. I don't think there's really been a real formal metric about that, about addressing problems, if that's what you're asking.
It seems like you have a good group that help mitigate some of these challenges that have been expressed about the current provider, and if we could address those challenges, that would certainly give us more time, particularly as we look at a long-term solution, if we could have a contract with the existing provider that works well for everyone.
In the past, the staff has been in charge of the contract. The Anchorage Advisory Committee has not had input into the actual contract with the provider.
I'd just throw in that one of the things that's happening right now is the town is moving to an app for people to check in, register, pay, etc. So everything about the paperwork is changing currently. So that would have to be, if you're looking at performance metrics, we need to see how this is going, the new program may solve a lot of the problems that we have had. So we're going to have to look at what its bumps are before we would say negotiate anything too specific in the contract.
Mr. Mayor and the members of council, I want to be clear that this is an extension of an existing contract. So we can perhaps open up terms to renegotiation, but that would be at the consent and agreement of the service provider. This is not a matter we're sitting down with a new contract, but we have an existing contract. It's up for extension. So typically, an extension would be under the same terms and conditions. That being said, we will make an effort to sit down with the provider and address some of the things we noted in the initial term with respect to their performance to see if they could be addressed. But I think all of you have a big enough business background to be aware that typically, without appropriate penalty, things will at times will not get attention. So whether they'll be willing to take on penalties or not for not meeting the performance metrics is unknown, but we can have that dialogue with them.
Has the staff ever just scheduled a sit-down conversation with, like, on a regular basis with these service providers, just to say, here's where we think this is falling short, and addressing it directly to try to get it resolved, just in communication without penalties and the contracts?
Well, we do have conversations with them. We do have email reports of questions and concerns. So I mean, there is somewhat of a record of the issues. I mean, Chelsea unfortunately is not here today. She could probably elaborate on this a lot better than I can. But it's just really a matter of, I guess, in their overall business plan, we're a small part of it, and there's sometimes, as you all know, something does not get the attention it needs because some other priority has risen its head. So we've had some issues. They are resolvable with the appropriate attention, and we'll make every effort to see if we can get awareness.
And Rexann, with this app that you're looking at using, is this like an app that's used by cruisers generally, or is this something?
Yes.
It is?
Yes, it is. It's called DACWA, and it's been around for a while. It's an app or a website where you can do all of your registering, payment online. It's become much more popular on the west coast of Florida. I think Salty Sam's is using it, several places in Sarasota, St. Pete. This is the first month that it's been in use, and you essentially go on. Our contract is online, because we just did it, because we have our boat in the field. And you pay, and Matanzas actually gets back to you, so you interact with them as well as the people at DACWA.
So this just kind of works like the websites for vacation rentals of the VRBOs and stuff, where
I assume,
where they would,
having never done that, but
they would go to this. They would go to this app and then interact with the manager, who would be Matanzas. But then the town you can see what's going on. The owner is the town.
The short story is that we do not have someone on one of the town boats physically driving through the mooring field every day. So we relied on the paper reports of Matanzas as to what spaces were released and for what duration, because each duration has a different rate. There are some failures within that paper system. So in an attempt to try to address them, we've gone to this software-based reservation system, if you will. So we hope that will help address some of the issues. I'm paid for it to try to address the issues. As Ms. Light said, it just started this first month, so we don't know if we'll get the success we hope to, but trying as a way to try to make the interface between ourselves and the service provider work better. Obviously, it's all live data, so we could see and they could see what's going on, as well as, so if it happens to be a day that Austin is going out to the field to do his work, get a live, active, current list of who's supposed to be there and what, for what durations, be able to sort of, amongst his other duties, field check that. So we hope that this will help address some of the issues. Again, most of you remember good data in, good information, bad data in, bad information. So we'll see how that all works out. But we're hopeful this will help improve things.
Will use of this app be mandated, or will this still be a paper option?
Well, no, well, I guess there's a paper option whereby the Matanzas staff would enter it for somebody who could not otherwise enter it themselves, but all the data in terms of the leasing of the mooring balls will be kept in that system.
I might, Chelsea said that there's not going to actually be a kiosk in Matanzas. If someone is unable to do it on their phone or they don't have computer access, they will go into Matanzas and Matanzas will enter it. So they're not going to go in and fill out a physical paper. It will be entered by Matanzas office. If there's nothing further, but maybe this will make questions, I don't know. I did say in the report that we're looking at, Chelsea and staff gave us a list of about 5 or 6 locations, and we kind of, if we decide to take it in-house, and we determined that Harbor House or Bay Oaks would be the best of the ones that we were presented with. Both of them have pros and cons. And one of the biggest cons to Bay Oaks is water access. We have to, obviously, if we're going to take it in-house, it has to be better than what we have. Otherwise, there's really no reason to do it. And we need really good water access, and that's one of the real downfalls for Bay Oaks. Another thing that we're still trying to get, and I don't know if I alluded to it in the report, is we're trying to get real financial information about if it makes sense to bring it in-house, if it's going to cost a lot more money to bring it in-house. I think that's something that should be addressed, and we would like to find out that information. I realize that's hard to really know until you've had it in-house. Because we're taking on this DACWA situation, I think that may change, because one of the biggest things was adding personnel to what we would have. If we would take it in-house, we would have to have more personnel than we have that's for the mooring field. And the DACWA situation, because it's all done online, may change the amount that we would need. We don't really know that now. Chelsea sent out last week, I think, for us to do for our committee to do a pro and con list of leaving it at Matanzas or taking it into Bay Oaks or Harbor House. I have yet to do mine, but we need to know that every one of those 3 will have pros and cons. And then you have to make the decision, what's the best place for us.
Okay, well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion about that. I have a question, Catherine, in your report. You mentioned delinquent accounts. Are those current tenants that are delinquent in their accounts that just aren't paying?
Yes, we've had issues with different accounts over the years.
Are they making payments at all?
We have had, I think there is still a boat that's there that was abandoned.
Okay.
So they're not paying anything at all. And we have had, maybe someone can answer.
Sir.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, we've sought and obtained authorization to begin the process of removing those vessels. There's 3 of them, and attempting at least to potentially recover monies from them. But as was just indicated, we know that that one of those vessels, someone just came in the middle of the night tied their vessel to one of our mooring buoys and literally disappeared into the night. And we have no idea where the vessel owner is, who that vessel owner is, other than trying to trace through the information, which we're in the process of pursuing. But the goal ultimately is either have them removed and recover whatever funds we can, or at a bare minimum, get them removed so we can turn them into income-producing spots.
Okay, those are for derelict boats, but I'm talking about boats that are out there with tenants on it that aren't paying. They're living on them
Yes.
and not paying.
Well,
And using the amenities that are provided.
Yeah, I think that for the most part, the people who are occupying, who are on the vessels and on a mooring buoy, we are in the process of bringing them, they either are all current or in the process of bringing them current. And again, the three that there's one of those three that we're constantly after. But that's my understanding.
Mayor, I can elaborate on that. That goes back to the problem I was telling you about earlier, that the current accuracy of the information in terms of the report of who is a paid customer to the paper system was inadequate, due to its timeliness and in some cases human error, which is why we decided to go to an automated system to try to make sure we get that information current and minimize errors among various people who touch the application. And the reason for that obviously is that if someone is about to become delinquent, we want to attack that early before they have been delinquent, because clearly you're then fighting an uphill battle. So we want to catch it early, and we believe that Doc will help us do that. So that's how we're trying to address that concern.
What if they're continually, habitually behind and make no effort to pay? Is there a process for eviction from the mooring field?
It's very lengthy and complicated process.
It's no different than a premise, on land.
No different.
For all
Well, then there
intents
is a
and purposes,
process. Then there is a process.
There is a process, and that is the process that we're pursuing with the three that we've asked, and if we need to, we will bring more forward as the need arises to get your authorization to begin that process in county court.
Because they're the ones that ruin it for everybody else. If all these folks have their vessels in there and they're making their payments and I'm playing the game the right way, and then these other people habitually don't pay, and yet we're knocking ourselves out to provide services for people that don't pay. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So hopefully we can bring everybody into compliance and
right. The goal is clearly that we want to tack you on the 29th day of the month if your next month payment has not been made, versus 10 days after the new month has begun. So Doc will help us do that. The last point that I want to kind of cover that came up in the question and answer period here is, depending upon if the council decides to go in-house and where the facility is, really the closer it is to town hall, the easier it's going to be with existing employees. Further away it gets from town hall, theoretically it could become more complicated. However, one of the alternatives we've talked about internally is we have our parking enforcement staff here at town hall. They're here, hours at town hall's open pretty much all day. Base supervisor is here all day, and we theoretically can put that as part of the upland facility. So we're not necessarily looking at hiring a bunch of new staff if the council were to move in that direction. We should be able to redeploy some people and pretty much cover all the hours, or very close to all the hours.
How much space would for like base department entirely, you mean, or just?
It's one desk, two desks, it's 10 feet of counter space. I mean, if you're sitting there waiting for someone to walk in the door, whether you're waiting for them to come find out and secure a mooring ball, or you're waiting for them to come and pay a parking ticket, they're, it's pretty much the same activity for the most part. So we don't see a whole lot of difference there. But we're not overly concerned about the staffing element of it per se. It's really more the capital investment. And with respect to that, clearly you would understand that if we own the dirt, it's going to be cheaper than if we have to buy the dirt. We're assuming the build-out cost for the amenities would be approximately the same. Really, if you're building in a building that the shell is already there, that's going to be cheaper than if you're building on raw land. So there is that factor. But we're in the process of trying to synthesize all this information for you, along with the recommendations of the Anchorage Advisory Committee, so you could look at those options and give us some direction as to next steps.
Thank you.
How big of an issue is you mentioned, John, that someone just comes in the middle of the night and hooks up to a ball. How big of an issue is that? How often do we get people that do that?
Rarely, other than when perhaps there's a threat of hurricane, because we're a safe harbor and people just think they could just go hook up to a ball without checking in. It doesn't happen frequently. Our biggest issue is people who put their boat on a ball, pay, and stop paying. Bigger issue.
Curious, the app you said will cover that issue, but it won't cover the issue of someone just coming in the middle of the night and hooking up to the ball. And if they do that, does that start that whole eviction process? If once they're there, you can't get them off the next day if you catch them. You mentioned we're not out there, somebody's not out there every day, but if you go out there 2 days and you notice there's a boat that's there that hasn't registered or hasn't done anything, what recourse do we have to get them out of there other than the eviction process?
Eviction process.
Just passing.
But the point is that the fact that they're there as an unpaid customer come to light sooner under the new system than it would have under the old system. That was one of the problems we were having with the service provider.
More questions of Catherine? Catherine, thank you very much for coming this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Bet. All the best.
Thanks for your service, Catherine.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the September 21st, 2020 meeting.
I have an amendment on page 2. It indicates that I said that last meeting was the last for Michelle as the town clerk. She still is officially our town clerk. We need to correct that. It was just her last meeting sitting in the chair during council meetings. And
Any other corrections?
any other amendments?
I have a correction. On page 8, section F, it says that I biked by the site in question when it was actually Councilman Allers, I think, on the bicycle.
Any other?
I'll move to approve with the 2 amendments.
Second as amended?
Further discussion? Any objection? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next item is the consent agenda. There are 2 items on there, a voluntary utility easement on Primo Drive and extension of the special magistrate services renewal contract. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Moved. Is there a second? Seconded. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Just a couple quick questions for our town manager, or for the town attorney, quite honestly. It may be more appropriate for the town attorney. With respect to the special magistrate, could you just give us a rough idea? There's a very detailed analysis of how we pay her and how it's billed. But what could you give us a rough idea of what annually she receives in terms of compensation based upon the hours that she works?
I'd have to defer to the manager of finance. I don't know.
I think it was $8,600. I already asked Roger.
Yeah, it's 8. She received was 8606. Don't forget, though, within that number, there was about a 90-day period due to COVID that there were no hearings.
That's fine, that's fine. I just was curious, just roughly where that fell. That's very helpful. And the second point I'd
Putting
like
in
to make.
finance, that was the number of finances.
The other question I have is, I've been watching these magistrate hearings, and the magistrate seems to have a very extensive background in a wide variety of areas, and it's been very interesting to watch this process. Would it be helpful at some point to have her appear before an M&P meeting and inform the council as to what her, not to comment on individual cases, collectively, what her experience has been for the last couple of years and what she might, based upon her life experience and her work, I think she also works at Marco Island, if she has suggestions for the town council policy-wise where we could help reduce the number of cases or the types of cases that come her way educationally, what we could do as a town more proactively. In other words, almost like a state of the judiciary, if you would, at the micro level. Give the town some input as to what her experience has been as our special magistrate and anything that she's learned, any suggestions policy-wise she might have for us. Do you think that would be helpful at all?
We certainly can ask her. I would caution the council that, you kind of keep the legislative separate from, as you would characterize a judiciary. The whole concept of the special magistrate is that they're not involved in policy setting, that they're there to hear the cases much like a judge. However, with that said, I do know that the Florida Supreme Court, once a year issues a report to the Florida legislature about the state of the courts. So we can ask her to put something together, and depending upon what she puts together, follow up and potentially, if the council wants to then hear from her directly, maybe invite her. But again, the concept under the state statute and the ability to have a special magistrate is for that individual to be independent and separate from the town and not involved in the policy setting process that she then would have to, or he would then have to pass judgment on.
No, I totally respect that, John. I think it would really be more one way from her to us. I don't envision us grilling her on individual cases or, but I just can't imagine, having sat there for 2 years, she doesn't have some observations and may have some things to suggest, potential procedural improvements or suggestions, ideas, various ordinances that we've passed that could be better worded or better promoted. I don't know. I'm just thinking that she would have a sort of an outsider's observation as to how things are working, and we might be able to glean some things from her, but I certainly would want to do that in a respectful way where we maintain the appropriate separation. But she seems very knowledgeable, and it seems like that might be interesting to hear her observations, but in a way that's appropriate. Just a thought.
Well, we can reach out to her, Counselor. I think she's well aware of our efforts to minimize the need for her services. We'll have a conversation with her and see what we can arrange.
Thank you.
Else? Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Any objection? The consent agenda is passed. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing. Public hearings. The first is the second reading of the Land Development Code text amendments. Second public hearing and final reading for Land Development Code text amendment to Section 34-639, permitting survey requirements. So we'll open up the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, for compliance with statute, if we read the title, the ordinance into the record.
Yes. Have it right there?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Ordinance 20-15, an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending section 34-639 entitled Permitting Survey Requirements of the Fort Myers Beach Land Development Code, revising the survey requirements and providing for stormwater compliance and inspection, providing for severability, codification, scrivener's errors, conflicts of law, and providing for an effective date.
You're good.
The ordinance has been properly advertised and is therefore properly before you for second reading and adoption.
Good. Morning. Say that one more time.
Packet 42.
Good.
Request your approval.
Questions? Okay, thank you. Public hearing, anybody wish to speak to this from the public? Pointing to me back there for some, you're not on? Are you on? Okay. Anyone from the public? No? Close the public input. Okay, is there a motion from the council?
I'll move to approve ordinance 20-15.
For a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Just require a roll call, okay? Councilman Allers.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hosafros.
Aye.
Atterholt.
Aye.
Councilman Veach.
Aye.
Mayor Murphy, aye. The amendments are passed. Thank you. The next item is another public, it's a variance. Resolution -20-44 for 253 Ostigo LLC pool setback variance. Go right ahead.
Variance,
Hey, we need, it is quasi-judicial, so we do need to swear in any witnesses who are going to testify.
Okay. Anyone going to testify here? Yes, sir.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right, and last but not least, because it's quasi-judicial nature, it is appropriate at this point to disclose any ex parte communications you may have had. Ex parte communications do include site visits.
Drive-by.
Bye-bye.
None for me.
drive-by.
Jason.
Jason Green, Community Development. The variance before you is for 253 Ostigo. It is what's called a through lot, so there's a right-of-way frontage on both sides, both ends of the property. Carolina is where the actual property's frontage and driveway is. Since the property has no rear yard, a variance is essentially by the definition of setbacks. There's a variance to section 341174B. Prohibits accessory structures being forward structure. Since there's two right-of-ways on each side, it requires. The neighborhood has multiple pools along the Ostigo property, and Carolina being the frontage for those. It's pretty consistent with what's in there. There's an exhibit on packet page 77 that points out existing pools on Ostigo property in relation. So luckily for us, it's pretty consistent throughout the years that the frontage has been on Carolina, and then the rear. Variance will allow the pool to be 5 feet from the right-of-way, which we've measured approximately 15 feet from the pavement. Residence was built in 1985 and appears to be consistent with setbacks. Staff have found that most of them appear have had previous administrative variances. Findings and conclusions on your packet, page 53, for LDC section 34-87, are extraordinary conditions or circumstances. Things are included in your packet. Of LPA. The proposed resolution. Questions?
Questions for Mr. Green?
Applicant is here.
Jason,
Yes.
it appears that the carport is now going to be behind the pool. Has there been discussion of, how are they going to access their carport? Or are they just going to not use their carport anymore?
They would not use that. They don't have driveway access off of the street. And I'll leave it up to the applicant to answer, but I don't know if that's actually a carport. Maybe just a,
Well, it's labeled that way on the diagram.
on the right, the surveyor sometime, I'll have him.
When
know
I
what
went out
exactly
and
that
looked,
is.
the other side, the extension is not large enough to shelter a car.
But there is no driveway access permitted from the town, so there would be no Stego.
Sure looked like they'd been using it to pull cars into.
They do not have a permitted driveway, and this complete with, to not be able to fit in a driveway.
Okay, well, I'll wait and ask.
The survey actually shows that as a gravel driveway up to the carport. No access there.
Their permitted access is from Carolina.
What that is it's not a gravel driveway, it's just a gravel yard.
It's a driveway from Carolina to the front. On this survey.
On Stego, right, it says gravel driveway and carport. If there's no driveway access there, then that's not actually a gravel driveway. As it says, that's a
They
gravel
may have been
yard.
utilizing it, because there wasn't, the records that we.
And you can make it a further condition to say that there is one that is removed.
Oh,
Since part of the conditions is the landscape for along us, to have that being there.
and what's the grade of this, the pool deck gonna be? Elevated?
There is, let me see, there's a drainage plan. Pool plan. It looks like the proposed pool deck is pretty consistent with the existing. There's a, on page.
I don't have any numbers on my, all cropped off, so.
It's page 57. At page 57, you can catch, on the upper left-hand corner, there's a cross-section, section CC. Actually, existing grade, the well, which is required by the stormwater requirements, and then the property line.
Where is the swale gonna be?
At the rear of the property, up to the property line, so between the pool, the 5 feet, basically, back of the pool and the property line. There's actually a perimeter swale around the entire property proposed. You see that one? It's a packet page 57. So
Okay,
it's labeled, so if you go back one.
All my pages have been, numbers have been cropped off.
There's a packet page 57 shows cross sections of the drainage plan. Okay, and the swale is required to be basically around to create the volume that they need for the land.
Okay. This drainage plan, anything that runs off the pool deck will go into the swale along the road and then along the side of the property in both directions?
Correct, and the land development code requires development like this of impervious surface to hold 1 inch of, measured by basically whatever the square foot of the lot is, 1 inch of water, and then that volume has to be held on site.
The existing lot is, looks like it's gravel all the way around, which is kind of consistent with the neighborhood, but is that considered pervious or impervious?
The pervious and impervious nature depends on the use. So you can do keeping gravel, that sort of thing, but once you use, it compacts in the gravel. Generally, we consider area. It's consistent with. They don't, but if they had to, that would be what.
And I assume too, they're not allowed to put any kind of impervious membrane under.
That's it? Any other questions for Mr. Green? Thank you. We'll hear from the applicant now. Sir, introduce yourself.
Good morning.
Morning.
Peter Albert,
Sure.
the owner of
Morning,
the property. Yes, obviously it's a unique lot and a unique street, so in order to have the pool put, that would fit, obviously with the setbacks, Ostego seems the obvious choice. Also, it falls in line with the same with all the other pools that were approved back many, many years ago. And there's 2 other houses that don't have pools, but they're kind of too far in the middle, so they wouldn't even fit the back. There wouldn't be to be a pool. So Otsego is very fortunate that we have it. To answer about the carport, it's the same design as the house to the left of us. That carport will be just the same as the pool deck. It'll be just a kind of a little area where they have, furniture and things. And it will be actually fenced in as well.
Little covered storage.
Again, and it's a covered lanai. We really, we've done a lot of remodels here on the beach. This particular property is somewhat unique. The downstairs was built, and it was permitted, but it's really just storage down there. So realistically, it's not even used. It's just for us. We use it for storage, but for beach chairs and what have you. So anyone wants to use the beach to go to the beach. So it's set up the way that, again, the front of the yard would have to go towards the Carolina, and the Otsego would just be the pool. And it's actually exactly somewhat the same drawing as the one property right next.
Questions for Mr. Albert? No? Thank you, sir. Okay. We'll open up the hearing to the public. Is there anybody who wishes to comment to this matter? Anyone else? Being none, we'll close it and bring it back to the council. Does this require a roll call, John, or?
No, but
don't have a motion yet.
whoever makes
Yeah.
the motion, I would suggest that it's the motion is to determine or to find that the property owner meets all the criteria in the LDC and the comp plan for the requested variance.
Okay. Does anybody wish to make that motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 20-44, which specifically includes citation to our comp plan and that the situation qualifies under the LDC and our comp plan and specifically contains the 4 conditions of approval.
Second that. Is there any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the resolution is approved. Next is the administrative agenda. The next item is an interlocal agreement, interlocal with Lee County School Board. This is to ratify Resolution 20-45 for an interlocal agreement with the School Board of Lee County for the exchange of real property and improvements in exchange for property historically used as part of the Bay Oaks Recreational Campus and other commitments. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I have a question.
Okay.
On the very last page, page 110, it says limits TBD, which in my brain always means to be decided. But I'm not sure that that's the case, and I just wondered whether it is and what TBD stands for on page 110. It's the very last page, so if you go to the B divider,
Yes,
Right in front of
I
it.
think
To be determined.
because that exhibit was prepared before the survey was finalized, that's why it's stated that way. But there actually has been a survey ordered by the town, and in the actual transfer documents will reflect that survey.
It has been determined.
And that on the last agenda, you actually approved the vacating of the right of way, and it had that legal description inserted.
just wanted to clarify it. Thanks.
Okay. A motion to approve the resolution with the school board?
I'll move to approve.
Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved, second. Further discussion? Any objection? Motion carries unanimously. The next item is B, which is Resolution 20-40, ADA Plan Report. Resolution 20-40, adopting and implementing the ADA Self-Evaluation and Transition Plan Report, which is required for LAP funding. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll move to approve resolution 20-40.
Moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved, seconded. Any discussion? Any objection? The motion carries unanimously. Next item is SRF Technical Services. This is item C, SRF Technical Services, North Estero, PHT PT2. This is to authorize the town manager to execute a contract not to exceed $84,288 with Angie Brewer and Associates to perform compliance activities required by the State Revolving Fund criteria for Town Project North Estero, Phase 2, Part 2. Is there a motion to authorize the town manager to execute this contract?
Moved.
And moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved, seconded. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I could just ask the town manager, if you could give us a little history on the contract with Angie Brewer and Associates. Number one, or why isn't this done in-house? And B, what was done before Angie Brewer and Associates were contracted by the town?
Okay, the town is utilizing a state revolving funds loan program for our capital improvements for water and stormwater. This loan process is a very complicated process run out of the state government. There are firms that specifically handle this and this alone because of the complicated nature of the required paperwork. The importance of the required paperwork is that we have to pay the contractor, actually get the back of the check back from the bank, send that along with a bunch of other paperwork to the state, then try to facilitate reimbursement through the state tiers of government. The more months we have of unpaid reimbursements because of clogs in state governmental processing or other priorities, there's literally hundreds of governments who are utilizing this process. Our cash does not revolve. We discussed a little bit about that problem when we were discussing the rates. So it's really important to have a firm that has the expertise and has relationships with the state offices in Tallahassee to make sure that this process goes as smoothly as possible. Not only the actual loan application and the loan committee and getting all that paperwork through, but actually the more complicated thing is the monthly reimbursement of these invoices. Angie Brewer is, while there's other firms that do this, they are recognized as the expert firm among the others. We've used them since the inception of our program, and it would be my recommendation to you to continue to use them. They've been extremely helpful in a variety of things, such as adding to existing loans so that we get the older, lower rate, getting our loans queued up in the state process, because it takes 6 months or longer to actually get your loan approved. They've been extremely helpful in keeping the cash flow as efficient as possible. And frankly, we don't have staff here who could do that. We would have to hire staff to do that. Plus, we would have to pay them to travel to Tallahassee on occasion to unravel issues. So, all that being said, it's our recommendation that this is the best approach, and we believe it's the best firm.
Thank you. That's helpful. I would just editorialize only that shame on the state of Florida for making things so complicated that each town has to hire a firm like this at expense to navigate their system. But I certainly understand the importance of it. So thank you for that background.
Any other discussion? Any objection to the motion? Motion?
I don't think we had a motion yet.
I think we did have one, did we not?
I don't think we,
Dan made a motion with second by the vice mayor.
oh, okay. I get lost. We've been churning through them so quickly.
Okay. Hearing no objection, the motion carries unanimously. Okay, the balance of the agenda are the appointments to the advisory committees. I'm going to ask the council if we can just take a 5-minute break before we get going with those.
Sure.
So we'll meet back here at, let's say 10, 15 minutes.
How you doing? Back?
is number D, letter D, which is the Anchorage Advisory Committee appointments. This is to appoint members to the year-ending 2021 Anchorage Advisory Committee, AAC, and there it is. So we're going to vote. Vote for 5.
An easy one.
At the risk of taking all the suspense out of this one, I think I can make an announcement here.
Yeah.
But, unless you prefer to do it this way. The members that were up for, well, there were 3 existing members or are they all existing members? I forget now. But, anyhow, members that are extended here are Robert Beasley, Doug, Ted Lawwill, Catherine Light, and Sam Laurie. So congratulations to you all, and thank you very much for your service. Okay, next one is item E, which is the Audit Committee appointments. This is to appoint members to the 2021 Audit Committee. These are three existing members with 2 new members. Go for 5. Another easy one here.
Mr. Mayor, just clarification. So that means there'll be 6 members on the audit committee or 7?
I think that's
There are currently 5.
7. I think that makes it 7.
There's
Yeah.
room for 7? Okay.
Yeah,
that-
yeah, they're 7 by, I think they may have preferred keeping it to 5, but why discourage people from participating particularly if they can
I think that's
add
right.
to the conversation?
Remember one summer we had problems getting a quorum sometimes when there were only 5.
No, I think this is great. I would say, too, I did ask the town attorney as to whether I needed to recuse myself from the audit committee vote. He said, no, I didn't, but I would disclose that one of the candidates is my uncle, but since it's uncontested and it's uncompensated, he said that I don't need to recuse, but I did want to disclose that.
That's correct.
Oh, I don't know, these Hoosiers, they figure out a way to do something there. Okay, the next item, which is Board Cab appointments, appoint members to the 2021 Bay Oaks Recreational Campus Advisory Board. And here, we're going to vote for 4 out of the 5 names submitted.
Just on the blue sheet, it says there's 5 vacancies.
Cab.
Page
6 members,
148.
6-member board, have 3 have terms that expired, leaving 5 vacancies.
All right,
Oh,
okay.
it's 4.
There's only 4.
There's 4. Anna Holmes and Betty Simpson are up for
Let's vote for 4.
for 4.
Wait for the clerk to tabulate the results.
we have a tie between, the top vote getters were Betty Simpson, Jana Holmes, Beth Cherry. There is a tie between Holly Tribble and Kathy Wetzelberger.
We flip a coin.
How we get a tie?
Work.
Somebody didn't vote?
Always be an odd number.
And the other people.
Permutations that happen.
Redo them, let me refigure
Permutations
them.
and combinations.
Sure, if not, it
Sorry, I come up with the same numbers again.
either you can then vote on those two, and if we get the same result, which shouldn't, but theoretically, then you could flip a coin.
Okay, let's revote on those two first. Want to pass out the same ballot, and we can maybe circle the choice.
The two were Beth,
Holly Tribble and Kathy Wetzelberger.
It was going along swimmingly until this one.
Recognize my scribble? Oh, you're giving us the same, a blank one. Wow. It's preparation.
Gold star from the vice mayor.
That's impressive.
Thank you, Scott.
it's a battle with just the two names, I'd be suspicious.
Could someone restate the two finalists?
They were Tribble and Wetzelberger.
Okay, and it's Holly Tribble.
Okay, if you'd like to just restate all of them, that would be great.
Yep. Beth Cherry, Anna Holmes, Betty Simpson, and Holly Tribble on board cab.
Congratulations to you all, and thank you for your service. Okay, the next one is the Marine Resources Task Force, or no, excuse me, CELCAB. CELCAB. So we're going to vote for 4, and there are 4.
In your exercise today.
Bringing them in.
Nobody can see your feet on camera, you can take.
No line for a write-in. Confident. Congratulations, ladies, and thank you very much for your service to Mound House. Okay, the next item is Marine Resources Task Force appointments.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, we're going to vote for 4 on this ballot.
Just wanted to point out that our policies indicate a preference toward people who live in the town. And one of the candidates does not, despite the fact that he does great things, not a resident.
Who was that? Robert Howell?
Mr. Howell.
Okay, we'll vote for 4.
As a testimonial, Steve Johnson is the current chair of MRF, and he's
Have Renee Heil and Jennifer Rusk and Steve Johnson and Rose Larkin.
Okay, thank you for that. Congratulations to those folks, and again, thank you for your service to the town. Okay, the next one is the Public Safety Committee. We have 5 applicants for 4 spots. John Goggin, Heidi Youngworth, George Scott, Dawn Thomas, and Holly Tribble.
Mr. Mayor, John Goggin is currently the chair of this committee.
Yes.
He's also sent in a letter asking, he'll need a request a waiver because he's also on the audit committee.
Okay. What's the procedure for that? Do we have to vote on that?
You'd have to grant the waiver.
Motion to
I'll move to grant the waiver.
okay. Second?
Second.
Second it. Any discussion?
I'm puzzled by this because we have other people who serve on more than one committee. We've never done this before in my memory.
When we updated the committee ordinance about, I'm going to say about 2 years ago, one of the new requirements was just publicly acknowledging the fact that someone was on multiple committee and waiving that requirement.
I know Betty Simpson is on CAB and CellCAB. probably should vote to grant her the waiver as well. I don't know if there's any others.
And Hughes, I think, as well needs a waiver.
Would you like to
I'll help you.
include those two folks in your motion
Yes, I would.
and include it in the second? Any further discussion? Any objection? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for those dual members. Okay, next one is we're going to continue with the Public Safety Committee. We're going to vote for 4 out of the 5.
Okay, the 4 members are John Goggin, Heidi Jungworth, Dawn Thomas, and Holly Tribble.
Okay,
Holly also applied to the
Holly applied to
Board cab?
4.
and she's applying to the LPA. Did she get on the ones that got on board cab?
I haven't been paying attention because I've been telling here. I'm going to move on with the others and I'll look.
yeah, okay.
It's also on the,
It's applied to 4.
for the LPA as well, so I'd like to kind of know. We'll move on to the LPA.
Well, we could do a waiver in advance, couldn't we? Just do it right now, in case she is or isn't. A motion to provide a waiver for Holly Tribble?
Sure.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any objection?
Is on board cab.
Okay, she's waived. The requirement is waived.
And she's actually on 2 committees now.
Okay, last one is the granddaddy of them all, the local planning agency. We have 3 members, existing members have submitted their applications: Forrest Kritzer, Megan Heil, and Scott Safford. Then the town has received 3 new applications, one from Holly Tribble, one from Patrick Nass, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Patrick, and Aaron Woodson.
Amy's, the sounds she was making reminded me of the Jeopardy clock.
Okay, the four chosen for LPA are Forrest Kritzer, Megan Heil, Patrick Vanass, and Scott Safford.
Okay, congratulations to all of you. And again, on behalf of the council here, and they're certainly welcome to comment themselves, a very heartfelt thank you from all of us for your continued service to the town. Frankly, I don't know how we could do all this without the hard work of the committee members on all the various committees. So, yeah, we thank you again and wish you well in your work in the upcoming year.
One comment, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
There were no applications for the CRAB committee. And the CRAB committee only has 2 members on it now, so they don't have a quorum to meet. But if anybody wanted to get on a committee and they did not succeed in this, you're welcome to apply to the CRAB committee at any time because there are open vacancies. And once they get the 4 members, they'll meet, and the CRAB committee is working on things like Bayfront Park, potentially the public art be something that could fall underneath them. So there's a lot of projects they can be doing. If anybody really wants to get involved, there is still that committee that needs members and is going to be doing some interesting things here in town if they can meet.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on. The next item is final public comment. Anyone wish to comment? Yes, ma'am. Sorry. You're next. That's what I was always told.
My name is Susie Bayhan, and
Sorry, could you say it one more time?
My name is Susie Bayhan.
Meet you.
Nice to meet you. I put in an application for the Public Safety Committee. My name wasn't even up. I submitted it to Eva.
This is the first I'm hearing about this.
I have the emails confirming that my application was submitted on September 18th. And, Holly Tribble's on multiple committees. I'm a beach resident, business owner, and I've been here my whole life, so.
I'm more concerned about why your name wasn't submitted first.
Me too.
Let's get to the bottom of that first.
Which one did you say, ma'am?
Name?
Public safety.
Public Safety.
While we're waiting, can I tell you about the CRAB committee?
Sure, after we figure out why I wasn't put it on.
Do you see your, how it got dropped off the blue sheet?
Well, there was an error made here. So what do you think, council? You want to add this lady's name to the list and have a redo on the vote?
That would be fair.
I think fair, yeah.
Okay, let's do that, please.
And since we haven't seen your application, tell us about yourself.
There you go.
Okay. Well, good morning, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Susie Bayhan. I grew up on Fort Myers Beach. My family has owned property, residential properties, and had a business on this beach since 1975.
Business was that, Susie?
South Seas Trader off Old San Carlos Boulevard. So my family's owned that since 1975 and been in business since 1979. I grew up on Anchorage Street. I was 13 years old. And then my family moved off the island and back on the island when I went to college. I've been actively involved in my family's business and on this island since I graduated college. I'd like to be considered for a position on the Public Safety Advisory Committee, Public Safety Advisory Board, because of my concern for the general safety of the residents, snowbirds, and visitors to our beautiful island and its beaches. My education and career experience are in the fields of aviation and business for over 25 years. My business is reliant upon the safety of visitors and locals to this island. I believe my historical knowledge and upbringing on this island and mine and my family's vested interests in this town of Fort Myers Beach would be a valuable resource to the Public Safety Committee.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and I apologize for the confusion. I don't know how that happened, but
Why don't we go ahead and take the rest of public comment if there's, oh, Amy's good.
got it ready now.
Okay. She's faster than I thought.
Thank you. Okay, now it's, we'll vote for 4. There are 6 applicants.
Okay. The 4 votes go to John Goggin, Heidi Jungworth, Dawn Thomas, and Susie Bayhan. Is it Bayhan?
Congratulations. I'm glad you stood up. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Okay, sir, you were next. Nope, you were right there in the light blue, please.
Hello again, Council, Mr. Mayor. My name is Robert Howell. I was on the ballot for the Marine Task Force. I want to say thank you for your consideration. I accept and appreciate the outcome and everything. So I did want to say for future, I will be trying again. I do not live on the island or in the city limits. However, I'm on the island every day for work. I also volunteer with many organizations around the area. And you guys know me because I'm fighting the fight against the little turtle sales. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, and I appreciate you having me come up here and speak for the moment. On the side of the vote. On the side of the turtles, I was just wondering where we are on that. I know I've spoken with the Marine Council a few times, the Marine Task Force a few times, and I am still finding these little guys all over the island, and I know there's a lot of red tape and a lot of things going on with the turtles. And to be able to actually put forth the ordinance that I put forward and everything. For me, it's an issue where I'm worried about, we keep losing these turtles and the lives and that, and I was just curious where we were standing.
We'll get back to you on it.
Okay.
We'll put out some word on that. Appreciate it.
Right.
I appreciate you offering, and believe me, that's not a real disqualifier being off island. We've had several off island members on committees who have been extremely helpful. So thank you for offering your services.
Thank you. Anything else I can do in the future to be a better candidate?
Appreciate that. Okay.
Let me know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a clarification, Mayor. I thought it was a requirement either you were a business owner or a resident of the island to serve on a committee.
Oh.
The preference is,
It's a preference.
it's a preference.
Okay, is there anyone else from the public that wishes to comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. Town managers items.
Mr. Mayor, and members of council, just gonna ask John, are you gonna address when the turtle thing is coming up? In your thing? Okay, all right, I won't, okay. I want to advise the council that, again, in spite of numerous emails and comments, the QR codes in terms of the water quality is on our signs and is working. The Back Bay data is available from Lee County, so that it doesn't look like the town is trying to manipulate that data. Lee County government officials will be here on October 19th to update you on a variety of projects that they're working on in and around the town, and including the arches. I hope you all saw the email from Mr. McDonald the latest one with regard to that. I saw you were copied on that. He is working with Lee County as well. Thank you for approving the ADA report. We have money in our budget this year to address ADA issues, including the issue that was mentioned about the parking bumpers. We'll get that addressed. The water and stormwater historical report and status is scheduled for the M&P on the 8th.
Good. Attorney. I'm sorry. One second.
Just a quick question for the town manager. I'm glad the county's coming in and those are great topics. I'm curious, is the foot of the bridge going to be part of their presentation, or is that going to be a separate?
I believe that's part of an update on that as part of their presentation. Typically they would come at the M&P, but since we have the stormwater report, which may take a little time, they're going to come on.
Thank you.
Here, I believe it was Ms. Mason brought up a safety issue with the parking area under the bridge. Is that being addressed?
We've discussed it and it will be addressed very quickly.
Mr. Town Attorney.
In answer to the question posed by the applicant to Murph, we are working on that ordinance as well as some others that we hope to bring before you, including the mural ordinance at the next M&P meeting next week. So we are moving forward on that, as well as the turtle and the special events that the Vice Mayor worked very hard on. The only other matter that I want to bring to your attention is that on Friday we received a notice of appeal of one of our code enforcement hearing cases. All we received, unfortunately, was just that, the notice of appeal. We haven't received the actual appeal, so I can't tell you what they're alleging the special magistrate did or didn't do properly. As soon as I have that information, I'll certainly forward it to you. Other than that, unless you have any questions, that's it.
Questions?
Just a quick procedural question. I thought I heard Barbara say that the mural ordinance was going to the LPA. Is it jointly referred to the LPA and the MMP, or are we going? Or is it going to the LPA? It doesn't matter to me. I'm just curious procedurally where we're at.
I believe our intention is to take it to the council first because for you to have a discussion to make sure that the wording of the ordinance or any assignments that you want to give them, should you not be able to reach a consensus on the issue, can then be given to the LPA.
Thank you. All right.
Well done. Okay, council members' items. Councilman Allers.
I have nothing this week.
Mayor.
I was just going to bring up the arches and whether we could put it on an MMP. And I think that's already been addressed, that it's going to be.
Councilman Atterholt.
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Councilman Veach.
Everything that is my thunder coming last here. Yeah, the only thing I really have is I just want to make a comment that I think at our last meeting we had a kind of a maskless photo op, and I just want to say I apologize for the visual on that. I just want to let everybody know that we still have, COVID is out there, and the better we behave, the sooner it'll be over. And I just want to say I apologize for that inappropriate photo op.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could I just piggyback?
Oh, you can't go
on that?
back, no, that's your,
Go back.
once you say no, that's it.
All right.
No, go ahead, okay.
I was just gonna ask the town attorney, and again, just in a generic sense, as best you can, to provide, given what the governor's order, professed, you just give guidance to the businesses in the town, and how the governor's order juxtaposes with the town's status quo, and just give people some guidance as best you could, best you can.
It really, the only thing that the governor's order affects, and that's arguably, is the ability of the town to issue any or follow through with code enforcement citations or fines. But the governor's order, based upon my reading and that of others and communications amongst a number of local government attorneys, is that the requirement, if to the extent that a local government has any facial covering restrictions, they are still in place and still enforceable.
Is there any distinction between businesses and individuals on the island with respect to the governor's order?
No.
Enforceable fines?
Yes, I mean, I have heard of at least one local government or several local governments, and rephrase it, that have said that they intend on pursuing collection of those fines that they've already assessed as soon as the governor's order expires, and that they're continuing to issue either citations or notices of violations to operators. We have not had a case so far here in Fort Myers Beach.
Is there a difference to the governor's orders in terms of how he expressed concern with businesses versus individuals? Wasn't there some distinction, or did I?
With regards to the
ability to collect fines?
No, and I'm paraphrasing. I can pull it up or forward it to you if you wish. He said that any accrued fines effective his order were suspended. Period. Whether it's assessed against a private individual or a business.
Okay. I just have one brief comment. One of the applications for the Marine Resources Task Force, I'm not going to mention the name of the applicant, but on the part, why are you seeking appointment to this board, this person wrote that he or she was applying because he or she was concerned about the water quality on Fort Myers Beach and how dramatically different it is, and this person emphatically stated that he or she would not even eat fish from the water around our island. And I just want to make a point that I've been here a very long time, and I don't know that I've ever seen the water cleaner than it is right now. It's a long time, and I eat the fish out of our waters constantly. I'm not growing anything out of my head or my ears or anything else like that, and I don't believe there's any problem with who chooses to eat fish from these waters. If the fish are well enough to swim in the water, they're well enough to eat. So,
I wouldn't go quite that far.
well, I would.
Some of the ones they pull out of Lake Okeechobee look pretty diseased.
Well, that's I suppose that's a different animal. But anyhow, I just wanted to make that comment, and that's all from me. So, if there's
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I just want to go back to one point because I want to be clear. The Arch's email from Mr. McDonald indicated that they are working with the county. And we have to, I guess, be careful that we don't sort of wind up negotiating against ourselves in that discussion. So the county will be here on the 19th, and we can get an update as to what the current state of what they're looking at is. And then if you're not satisfied with that, then we can intervene.
Well, it would be nice to work hand in hand with the county on something. That would be great. Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the order here? If not, we'll adjourn. It's 10:53. Thank you.